Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And I've restarted it after a long time. And this episode is a part of mental health awareness campaign that has been running for this month of May, which is the Mental Health Awareness Month. And we created the campaign, mental health awareness campaign through Save Lives Project. And this is kind of a part of a collaboration where Psychology Talks and Save Lives Project work together to bring awareness about mental health. And in this episode, we'll talk about how you can find courage to speak up. What we have seen that people a lot of time don't have the courage to share their ideas, to share their resentment, to share when sometimes when they feel hurt, they don't have the courage to share, or they don't have some power to express how they feel. And if they keep their ideas to themselves, or if they don't express whatever how they feel, it creates resentment, it kills their dreams, because if nobody knows what you want, how would you work for it, how would other would actually recognize your self-worth? So there are lots and lots of disadvantage for not speaking up, for not expressing your ideas, for not expressing yourself, because nobody would know who you are, what are your inner strengths, unless you speak up, unless you tell the world that who you are. And that's why today's guest is one of the major personality who you may find on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on all the social medias. And she's one of the example that who took the courage to speak up against all the odds, where she found a lot of difficulties, but she stood up and she spoke up. And her name is Heather McWilliam. She's a brave woman who spoke up against all odds, and she won a landmark human rights case against the police while being an officer herself. Her journey has been one of the courage, sacrifice, and triumph. After an excruciating experience with the police, she spoke up and fought back against human rights abuse. She started a ripple effect and gave a courage to countless other women who stepped into their brave and speak up after she set an example. So let's welcome Heather. Welcome, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you today with us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with you and with everyone who's listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I gave a little bit of introduction about you. You've been doing a lot, I know. So just tell our audience about yourself. And I would like you to start from your childhood, that from where you grew up and which college you went to, maybe your education, your background, and to tell our audience that what is your work, what is your profession. So in brief, just give a little bit of introduction about yourself.
Well, thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction as well. I really appreciate your kindness.
Thank you.
So right now, I'm a police officer who was injured on duty. And so I'm still off, but I am a police officer, so I'm deemed as disabled. But I am now the founder of Brave Inspires Brave. And so that's an organization, a global movement where we're inspiring and building leaders of the future and sharing one brave story at a time. I'm also a human rights advocate, a mental health advocate, and a social justice advocate. So within that, there's a lot of different moving pieces that I'm still involved with police officers and various survivors within the community that I am supporting in all of those areas. As well, I can talk about now, I guess, my childhood. So I grew up in outside of Toronto in Canada in a smaller suburb. And my dad was a police officer. He was actually ended up being a homicide investigator. I ended up being involved in a case when I was 5 years old where they were looking for someone who had killed a young girl who was murdered after she was sexually assaulted. So I had a very big interest in policing from such a young age, and really was trying to listen to what my father was doing and understand how he was able to protect other people. And so at 7, we moved up north, so away from the city, which was difficult. You know, you're moving away from friends and everything that you knew. But at the time, also my dad, his colleague on the job, was killed on the job. So we decided that we were going to go. My parents decided to move up north to a smaller city, a smaller town in northern Ontario. And I played a lot of sports. I was involved in basketball, volleyball, track, swimming, you name it. That's where I was. But I also spent a lot of time, staring up at the stars at night in the sky, and kind of wondering about what the rest of the world was and who had the answers to life's greatest questions. Um, I think that's where I found my spiritual connection when I was a young girl, was really asking those questions and not having the answers, but really just my imagination was there rather than what maybe some of my other friends would have been doing at that time. Um, I went to high school, and in high school, unfortunately, some of my friends in high school had shifted towards addiction and drugs, and so I was so involved in sports that I didn't go down that road, and I witnessed a lot of friends that I had known in elementary school that had now face addiction problems, and then in my grade 9 year, my grade 10 year, my brother's two best friends had actually died from suicide. So I had become very aware of what symptoms you may or may not see when it comes to mental health and addiction, and really wanted to protect people always throughout my life, and really doing risk assessments, I guess you could say, on how my brother was doing and how those friends were doing. And from there, I left my hometown when I was 18, and I went to college a couple hours away and took police foundations. And I had faced in college a couple times where I was being told that maybe policing wasn't right for me. Maybe I should try something else. Discouragement in certain areas, probably that I was weaker in. But I knew that I wanted to become a police officer, and I was going to do everything that I could to become that. So I was able to graduate my police foundations course, and then from there I was hired on as an RCMP officer, and did my training for policing out in Regina, Saskatchewan, where we did our police training there for 6 months. And then I was posted to Coquitlam, British Columbia, and was posted there where early on in my career, you work by yourself as an RCMP officer, your solo units. And within the first couple of months, I was faced with my platoon, my shift being involved in 2 shootouts. Unfortunately, I wasn't there at that very moment, but was definitely trying to get there to be able to back them up and protect them. I also caught an armed robbery suspect on my own during the first few months of me working there. But within a year's time, I did miss my family, so I decided that I was going to see what it would be like to transfer to. My parents were now living back in Toronto, so I applied to the Toronto Police and was hired there as a police officer.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, very inspiring journey you had. Like from the age of 5, you had such, I mean, an experience which I'm sure that it must have left a very strong mark on your, in your mind, that dealing with such cases, or maybe those people who have been involved in such case, like who's killed some innocent girl. So I think that, and the way that you've explained that, especially like when you went to even the high school, the way people were, your friends, your colleagues were got into the addiction, and uh, yeah, like you've summarized your journey in a very brief and very comprehensive way, because it shows that whatever you're doing, it gives meaning, that whatever you're doing is linked, it is connected with uh, your past experiences, and the way you want people to help, because I'm sure whatever the experience you've gone through in the past, you don't want people to go through the same way. So that really is a powerful story, I'm sure. So moving on to our topic, that in your opinion, like you've seen that how people have, suffer from the mental health, and it's especially like addiction or maybe the cases of abuse or something, how important it is to actually express the ideas or express the feeling or to express whatever they have in their mind, so to know that how they're feeling or how they want them or the others to take them. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so my experience with that was, as a police officer, we're hired not to have mental health illnesses or injuries to be able to serve as a police officer. So it's not common. And, a lot of people fear that they'll lose their job if they were to talk about having a mental health injury or not doing well in any way that was less than, at elite performance. So really, it came down to a point for myself where I was always functioning at work. Like I was the happy person at work who enjoyed coming to work, who was happy and always had a really large caseload and just really loved being a police officer and being able to investigate. But at some point I started realizing the fear that was coming within myself about being around the sort of abusers and predators that were causing the discomfort in the police workplace. And then I started noticing it, the other policewomen facing it as well. And so I I don't like the feeling of fear, much like everyone else, but I really dislike it so much that I will find a way to overcome it because I've seen people live in fear, and it really takes away from the quality of your life. And
Yeah,
it's something that I had never experienced before. I had never been a victim before. And it came with my body. My physical body started having problems. I was having heart problems, and I wasn't relating it back to what was going on in the workplace. Or I was having neck problems where there's a lot of pain, and I was injuring more often. And so I started to have anxiety, which I had never experienced before. And eventually, it got to a point where I realized that my physical body, I needed to start paying more attention. Um, and my brother actually was the one paying a lot of attention, my older brother, to what he was hearing, what I was saying about the workplace. I didn't have friends outside of work because I didn't grow up in the city of Toronto. So it was mostly just my colleagues that I knew. And I wasn't about to tell them. Unfortunately, I didn't have that trust there anymore. Uh, the workplace itself, I no longer felt safe in. Um, Things were getting really dark in my mind, and I didn't see a way out. I didn't see light. I was being denied positions that I was being promoted to because they were keeping me at the station. So my hope was to get out of these places and work somewhere else. And I was being offered the permanent jobs, but they weren't letting me leave the station, the abusers.
oh,
So at that time, that's when I decided my brother had made me an appointment to see a psychologist. And as reluctant as I was, I took his advice and I sat down and spoke with one day. And she explained to me about how we wobble in life and when certain things with our mind, if they're not, feeling safe, how that's going to affect us. And I think at that point, waterfalls of tears just came streaming down my face because I had been operating at such a high level of hypervigilance, both as a police officer and then within my workplace, fear of everything that was going on within it. So I knew that I had thoughts of suicide, had happened right before that, and I knew there was something wrong, and I knew I needed to pay attention to that, and so I did. And I took my doctor's advice, and she offered me to go off work. And I thought I was going to be off for a few months. I thought that I would be able to heal from what it was I was going through, and um, and that was difficult, right? Is like surrendering to. She literally had to show me the paper for PTSD, and I had to, see the evidence for myself to say, okay, yes, I am suffering. And so the difficulty there was when I submitted that paper to my employer, it was no longer private. They given it to my bosses, and my privacy had been breached. So, everyone knew that I was suffering at that very moment when I needed help and support. They were kind of more responding with protecting themselves and wondering, if they were at risk, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. I think you just highlighted a very great point here that uh, which due to which many people don't even speak up, especially when they have been going through a mental health problem. As you know, uh, that people with the higher authorities or maybe like bosses will take it very differently. And as you said, that they were it was no longer private. So even despite the fact that they tell you that it will not be shared with others, they did tell. So that's these are the things that that we need to speak up about, that if whatever they have been suffering, first of all, there's from the person that who have been going through the mental health problem, it's okay to have any problem related to mental health because there is no shame attached to it. The other part is, if there is an employer or anybody is involved in it, if they say that they're gonna keep it private, they need to stick to their words. And that's how it's okay to speak about it, but it's not okay to not sticking to the words. So I think that's one thing. Okay, so just one thing, like I was just going through the comments, a lot of people have joined already. So thank you so much to the audience, whoever has joined. And I've got some nice comments from the audience, like Wilson is saying this is a nice topic, a nice subject. So thank you so much. And Benjamin is here and he's saying that it's the first time. So thank you so much, Benjamin, for joining. And I hope you'd like the show. And there are a couple of questions also, and it's from Rebecca Musahi, and it said like, if I have a story to share, can I also write a book or maybe act for that sort because it is based on true story? So yes, definitely. If you have a story, I think that's wonderful thing that you can share with the world, because when we share our story, it actually allows other people to feel the same, and it also let other people know that they are not the only one who have been going through the similar situation. They also get them solution. So what's your take on the question, Heather?
Absolutely. I was writing kind of saved me really. I When I couldn't process my thoughts and I couldn't keep track of them, or they were cycling in different ways, and it wasn't making sense to me, maybe not at the time, but the more I wrote, the more I was able to really understand and experience my thoughts and witness them in a way that you couldn't if you weren't writing or keeping track of them. I mean, it's all about mastering your own thoughts, right? So when you're writing them down, it's a whole nother level to being able to understand your story. For me, I was living in flashbacks all the time, and so writing gave me, and still does, gives me the opportunity to process what I'm going through without seeing those flashbacks, and really just there is such a healing process in that writing.
Yeah, that's very true. So I think she got the answer. And there's an other question that my parents are narcissists. I'm in painful sleep. So, the thing is, of course, it's a very difficult situation, Mohammed Ibrahim. And the first thing is that you should seek a professional help. I know this is not easy. You need to have a circle. Like, first of all, you need to have a trusted friend with whom you can share this and who can help you out. Because if I don't know that how safe it is to live with such in such environment where the parents are narcissists, or and also, so I think the first thing is you need to seek some professional help, and that's how you can deal with it. uh, the other question is basically, I think some people, the Benjamin is saying that he hasn't, again, I would also give you the same advice, Benjamin, that if you have some signs of schizophrenia or some any mental health situation, it is like if it is to that level, like schizophrenia or something, then I would definitely recommend you to actually consult a psychiatrist or a psychologist professionally, because you may be needing some medicine or some other like proper psychotherapy. So in that case, definitely you need to seek some professional help.
And I just want to say there's hope, for them, and don't be discouraged. And it's just really finding your support system, and you'll get there as long as you keep continuing to support yourself.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. That it's okay to have these problems. Like anyone can have any problem. It's just like the physical illness. If someone can have a cancer, or someone has some migraine or some headache, so they don't just you know shy away from these symptoms, or they stop telling, or they don't go to doctor. It's not like that. It's just like mental health issues or mental health disorders or mental health problems, just like the physical health problems. So if you go to doctor to treat your physical illness, it's the same that you need to go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, or anyone, at least some professional health mental health workers, so to cure your mental illness, or and you can easily overcome these problems. It's not something that it's not curable or it's not treatable. You can have a very successful life even if you have suffered mental health problem in any point in your life.
And the other
So
side of it, I just want to say is thank you for their brave for being able to bring it up and to talk about it. And the first part is acknowledging it. And, I just want to acknowledge that for them, is that that's a big deal to be able to come on here and say that and ask for help. So thank you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because that is the first step, and that's why we're saying that you are not alone. It's like we are here to help you out, and the reason why we are sharing our stories, the reason why Heather is sharing her story is just because the way she voice up, the way she sought help. It's all about that is the reason why she's here. That is the reason why I'm here. We had suffered in our past. We had our own suffering. We had our own challenges, but it's these challenges were there to to teach us something, to overcome. Like we learn how to overcome these challenges, and these are there for you also to learn and to overcome this, and you can have a beautiful life ahead. So thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so now coming back again to the uh, discussion that we were having about you, that especially like that you faced such traumatic experience, and where you found yourself alone, and I think that adds up to the depression, and that adds up to the trauma, because you couldn't find any trusted person over there. But once you found your help, that's how you started overcoming this the challenge. um, Now if you won the case, right, which was very difficult one, and you had to fight against all these authorities. So how did you gather all the courage? How did it happen? What was the motivation behind? What challenges you faced, and how did you overcome? Maybe you can share with the audience, so they will also know that how to deal with these situations.
Thank you. So the first challenge I received was the police service was coming to my home, and so my doctor actually gave me a prescription to leave my home and actually start a new life. I don't know how she knew or what she knew, but I took it very seriously. So I had a friend living in another province at the time who had asked me to come stay there, a friend from my childhood, actually. And so she reached out to me, and I thought, this is divine timing. I hadn't seen her in like 10 years. So I went out there, and it reminded me of who I was when I was younger. It reminded me of the freedom I had in my spirit, the safety that I felt when I was a child. And I also met her boyfriend and his brother out there, who also grew up not far from my small town. And he was a Canadian soldier, and he was a veteran who served in Afghanistan in the infantry. And his response, and his support and their support together really reassured me that I was doing the right thing. Coming from an environment where I knew nothing else about the world, and really thought that the whole world was like my workplace because I knew nothing else. And so I felt free from the fear for the first time in my life. And really, from that point on, I needed to make a decision for myself as to how I was going to sustain my health, to be able to stand up not only for myself, but the other women that were facing the abuse inside. I really saw it as my duty to protect was now on the inside. And it really felt like a calling because I didn't plan for this. It kind of just appeared. And it almost felt like I was being guided in a way that was, you know, brought me right to my intuition right away, and brought me right back to a spiritual connection. And I went through an enlightenment journey through that 6 years. I was Unfortunately, I had to flee for my life for the 7 years. I was being hacked on my phone, on my emails. Um, I was being followed in vehicles, on foot, in planes, uh, after court and before court. So I was receiving a lot of indirect threats to my life in various ways, and so was my family. And so between the chaos, I knew that I needed to self-care and abundance, and in abundance, I should say. And so if I was going to survive and I was going to have to help people again and be in that space again, I needed to take care of my body. And so I needed to take care of my mind. I needed to take care of my physical body, and I needed to connect to my spirit so that they could all be aligned. And really, it started off with I did Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, acupuncture, massage. I took a Reiki course and became a Reiki practitioner. I read every book I could on healing and personal development. I went to other people that had the wisdom of, my doctor was actually from India. So she had a lot of teachings and lessons that she shared with me from their country, as well as I read a lot of books on Buddhism. Amongst the chaos, I had to find peace, and I had to I actually found myself, in that unconscious space where I needed to imagine a better life for myself because I didn't believe that this was what my fate was. I had to have a faith that was bigger than my fear. And I had to rely on my journey and really just surrender to what it was and what I needed to do to make the impact that I wanted to make to be able to save lives.
Yeah, I mean, this is quite inspiring actually. And this is, I think, what happens when you are in the middle of chaos. It is there when you find the way out from that chaos. And that when you find that way out, it actually leads you to the purpose. And that just happened. I feel that chaos has an order. This order is actually guides you to your destiny. And I personally feel that uh, this chaos is there for a reason. But if we are swept away with the chaos, everything just goes down. Like a lot of people just give up on that. And that your example is just like that. You didn't give up. You tried to find out your knowledge. You tried to seek help from people. So you were taking action to move out from that. And once you do that, all this that chaos becomes your purpose, that leads you to your destination, to your destiny. So that's wonderful, inspiring journey that you share. Okay, so now you also written a book, right? Just tell us a little bit about your book, because I think that you gathered a few more females or the women from across the globe, and they share also their stories in the book. So what actually gave you the idea to write a book, and what motivated you to write a book? So maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your book.
So my current publisher editor, Kristen Bentley, I'm working with her for my transformational memoir that comes out this fall, and she had wanted to do a multi-author book. So it was her dream, it was her vision, and I think going based on what she knew of me and the other women that were wanting to be in the book and her journey as well. So she named it "Uncovering the Brave Within: Vulnerable Stories from Female Impact Leaders." And she had collaborated with Monique Alvarez, who's from AMA Publishing, who does a lot of multi-author books as well. Very strong, powerful women who have, a past too where they had to stand up for themselves. And so it was a collection of really brave women who, it was just timing, right? Divine timing. These were the women that were ready to share their stories and be brave. And their support was amazing because, just hearing other people's stories, you can see the brave that they're standing in and what they need to cross over, what fears they have, right, and how they're doing it. And I think risk and bravery goes hand in hand, right? You know, you need to know your risks and you need to assess. Like I constantly in my journey had to assess the risk of my life physically and mentally with what I was experiencing, the risk to the lives that were inside and they were being affected and how they were doing and monitoring that. And then, you know, even when you're writing a book, you have to understand what your risks are in bringing this information forward to the public and really visualize how that's going to affect you. And if you can see the light on the other side where you're going to be in a better headspace, it's going to allow you to be in the present more, because once we let it go of the fear, we're no longer thinking about it and we are now more in the present. So I think that the collective bravery makes an impact. And, you know, it truly it allows us to surrender. And when we see one person's okay on the other side of their bravery, then we say, okay, I think that I can also do this and be okay on the other side. Not just be okay, but live a better quality of life, knowing that we can overcome any fear that, you know, we wish that will, you know, with some safety rather. You know, you don't want to make yourself unsafe on the other side of fear. But I think for the most part, you know, we all enjoyed it, and it gave us a lot of confidence moving forward in our lives, whether personal lives or in business, or to write another book.
Yeah, that's very amazing. Actually, the example that you're setting for other people, and the path you are actually setting for other people to go through it is amazing. You are lighting up or illuminating the path where people can follow you. And as you mentioned that once you share your story, people also say that okay, that's okay with me too. If they can have it, they can survive it, if they have done it, so they can also do this. So that's amazing. And I think again that was the right timing.
Mm.
I guess that people were there. And here I would just highlight that that's the power of surrounding with the right people, because maybe the other people who are going through the same phase, when you connect with them, when you surround with the people, that's when I think the magic happens and you get the courage also to speak up or to follow your dream or to make wonders in the world. And it is just like that you and I connected, and we are here maybe sharing our stories, and we are creating an impact to maybe someone out there listen to us. Maybe they get this spark and they will get some hope to to try one more time, or to have some hope to do one more time. And that's what our mission is. So I hope it does well. Now
I
I
just
think
want to say one thing about, you know, in when victims become publicized, and when I was being put in the news for 7 years, you know, you have reporters and people making comments and writing stories about your life, right? And it keeps you in a mindset that tells you you're a victim all the time. You're a victim. And it takes away the power of your strength and your courage that you're a survivor and you're going to thrive again. So, you know, when we see those stories, it kind of takes away from the victim's power and strength, I find, because really the power and strength comes from them telling their story again and writing it in their own words.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's an amazing point. So I think there's a very good comment here. I don't see the name. It's showing a LinkedIn user, but it said that I'm glad and proud of Amreen and Heather for shedding the light on these vital issues that are always overlooked by the society in general. Keep sensitivizing all of us so that we can be aware and have the right skill, knowledge, and mindset to help those facing such challenges. So thank you so much. I think there is some reason that we don't know your name. It's showing the LinkedIn user, but it's a great comment. And thank you for listening to us. And it's really a pleasure to have you here. So I know we can learn a lot from you, but the time is almost over. So it was a great conversation with you. But before we finish the show, what one advice would you give to our audience today to have that brave in themselves to inspire others?
I think for me, it's to have faith, you know, that we're all here and we all have a purpose. And when we follow our purpose, sometimes that fear comes up, but it really is to show us that we truly want something. And that fear is there to guide you even further. So listen to that fear, assess that fear that's coming in. If you need help, mental health support, go get help. It's just like having an injured body part. It's that's the way you have to see it. And your quality of life will be better once you get that help, once you go on the other side of that fear. And really, that's what it's all about, is moving forward and never give up on yourself.
Yeah, amazing advice, and that's a very good point that about the mental health you mentioned. That it's just uh, like seeking help for any other matter of life, right? When we don't know how to write, we take help from our elders, parents, or something. If we don't know any skill, we get help from other people. So it's okay if you don't know how to uh, deal with your emotions, or how to feel sadness, or how to feel traumas, or whatever like mental health problem it is. It's just like any other matter or any other aspect in the life. When you need help to overcome problem, you go to any of your elder, any mentor. So it's just like that. So don't ever feel shy to seek help, especially about the mental health, because this is one of the major thing, because it covers all the aspects of life, and it affects it very badly if you delay seeking and help. So seek help, reach out to the right people. And now it's almost the end. How our audience can reach out to you? What is the best way?
You can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. I am Heather McWilliam. Also, Twitter is Heather McWill1. And LinkedIn, you can look up my name. I'll be there. And also through our website, braveinspiresbrave.com. Please join the Brave community there. We'd love to have you.
Okay, sure. I think I'll share all the links of your Insta, Twitter, and your website in the comments after the show. So the audience can actually connect with you. And she's very active on LinkedIn or other social media. So I think whoever wants to connect with Heather, please give a message on any of the social media platform. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story, sharing your wisdom with us. I'm sure our audience must have learned a lot from you. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope they have some value in what we've talked about today. And I hope that they go out and the call to action is to, find your brave and overcome your fears.
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks to all the audience who joined us from across the globe, who shared their comment and made it more lively. So, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you.